Good evening, this is Pine Leaf Needles, and welcome to LOTRO Players News, where we take a look at the latest news in LOTRO, and here at LOTRO Players. And today, we have with us Andang,
Hey, everybody.
Etheros,
Hello, and I don't have cooties.
Draculetta,
Hey, everybody. Oh,
Braxwolf,
if you could only hear the pre-show.
Oh, they
Yes.
will. They will at the end.
yes, Braxwolf,
Hello, Lotro.
Lily Kate,
Hello, everybody.
and our special guest for today, Harperella.
Hello, this is Harper,
Hey.
and Harper Mouse is with me too.
Hi.
Hey.
Hi, Mousy.
Thank you. And here we are, and we'll begin with Harper and ask you about your time in LOTRO.
Well, I've been playing the LOTRO now for about 6 years almost now.
Wow.
Started right after the launch, and I think I got captured when I first learned that I could play a harp in the game. And I think that's about the same thing that captured Mousy, right, Mouse?
Yeah.
Yeah, we like to freestyle with each other in the game.
Awesome.
Ah,
So you played plenty of chopsticks.
yeah.
All
right.
We play songs actually. If you map your keyboard right, you can make it into a real musical instrument.
I played chopsticks at one point.
Yeah, we do play chopsticks sometimes, I guess.
It's probably better suited to keyboard players. Boom, boom.
So what type of harp do you play in out of game?
How many harps do we have around here, Mousy?
8, I counted.
8. Okay, we have 8 harps here, so there are many kinds of harps, but Celtic harp for the most part.
Awesome.
We have one really big one that's got 40 strings. Mouse has got the smallest one, which is, 16 strings, your little guy?
Yeah.
And then we have all sizes in between.
Wow. That's awesome.
Cool.
Quite a collection.
Yep. And I think that's really what first got me interested in LOTRO. That and that we could do all this music. There's wonderful stuff in game. And, of course, that led to Weatherstock.
Yeah.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, that is probably the best thing, or at least one of the best things that's happened to the LOTRO community. I mean, it's a fantastic event that goes on every year, and it keeps getting bigger and bigger. Last year was your biggest year, wasn't it?
Oh, every year is bigger than the last. And, we never envisioned any of this stuff. We just were having a battle of the bands and thought it would be a great idea to have it up on Weathertop. And that's where the name came from. And sure enough, we managed to just get, I think there were only 8 bands that first year, several of them last minute. And it was just me and one other guy who were putting it on, Bowlin. And Bowlin went link dead about 20 minutes into it. But nowadays, I've got the whole band to help me out. The Lonely Mountain Band. We all put this on, and everybody gets to have a job. We have 4 different teams that put it on. The stage crew, the security, the freak out zone.
Yeah, there are a lot of people. We got a ton of lag.
Yeah.
Oh,
I just
yeah.
ended up having to walk outside of the perimeters so that I would get my computer fixed.
Yeah, lag is certainly the worst thing about Weatherstock. But kind of fun too. Epic
Yeah.
lag.
Yeah, especially at the end of last year's where
It was epic
destroyed
last
the
year.
server.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think melted the server.
Poor hamsters.
All right. What was your experience like on the Players Council?
Well,
the Players
first,
Council.
finally, why don't
Yeah.
we let him finish talking about some of the stuff he's been doing in game, like his first characters and stuff like that, if he wants to.
I'd love to. So actually, my very first character was, I think it was Harperial, my elf. who I still have today. And I actually started that character along with Harper Mousy here.
Yeah, I've got Harperina.
Harperina, that was the second one we did together. That one kind of became your character more.
Yeah.
And then I had Harperilla. And we did all kinds of different Harpers after that. I think I have like 36 characters now.
Yeah.
Finally, if that's vying for control with you.
Altaholic. So, when Mousy was smaller, her favorite thing was to create a new character. And she was particularly fond of creating two new characters, me with one and her with the other. And so we do that a lot. So that's how you get to 36.
Awesome.
Yeah.
But, of course, the other big thing that I've done all this time are these events. Now, when I first started up with LOTRO, I had been playing Eve before. And I got really fed up pretty quickly at sort of the negativity of that game. Just the game was almost encouraged people to be jerks to each other. Yes.
That sounds like Eve.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, if you look at Eve News, there's a lot of that. And I think it's kind of cool because it's like this microcosm of humanity. But at the same time, it kind of depressed me, too. And so when I came to LOTRO, it was so neat to see that they had all these cooperative ways of playing. Not just that, you have these cooperative raids and things, but also that there was this music system that allowed people to play together. And so many ways for people to sort of meet each other online, and more than just whacking orcs. And that's really where we went with the Lonely Mountain Band towards the social side of the game. And I think LOTRO really still has, quite a advantage over all the games as far as sort of social events go, because we've got music, and when everybody's sitting for music, there's some central thing we can all focus in on. It's something that we all have in common, and it's just a great way to connect.
Are you still there?
Awkward pause.
Used to those.
All right, continue on, Pineleaf, with the next question.
All right. We talked about Weatherstock and Lonely Mountain Band. What about the Spring Racing Carnival?
Ooh, the Spring Racing Carnival. That is just around the corner. So Carolyn of Rohan has run most of the horse-based events that we have out of the Windy Acres Ranch. Spring Racing Carnival is really a pretty cool event because there are so many races that are leading up to it. So you can run in any of these qualifiers. Usually there's a nominal fee to get in, like I think it's a gold piece. And generally, even if you don't have a gold piece, you're visiting from another server or something, you can get somebody to sponsor you pretty easily. And once you're in, Carolyn sets up these wonderful racetracks with different checkpoints. And then everybody goes, and we have a third-party observer to judge the winner of the race, which is pretty important because have you ever tried to race somebody in the game? Like maybe you're both going to Bree, and at the end you get in there, and it looks like you won, and you say, "Ha-ha, I beat you to Bree," and they said, "No, I beat you to Bree." Mousy and I have done this many a time, right, Mouse?
Yeah, it's because, I don't know, your computers always think that you're in the lead.
Yeah.
Like, you can turn around and actually see the person behind you, but then they'll turn around and see you behind them, so it's always confusing.
Yeah, because you're always a couple seconds behind the other person.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is why you no longer have races at the tracks.
And why my computer deserves a raise, but anyway.
Well, this year is going to be really neat because, not only have we had so many updates to horses. I mean, new horse skins. But we have war steeds this year. This is the first year where we're going to be racing war steeds.
Wow.
And we'll be racing war steeds throughout the streets of Bree. So watch out, watchers. It's going to be a rowdy one this year.
Yeah.
All right. Do you have different classes for different types of horses, or what?
So there's a number of different races. Some of them are for, sort of the classic plus 68% horses. So, no war steeds, no special buffs. So, for instance, if you bought that one store perk that makes you forever fast, you're actually not allowed. You're disqualified from these races. And that's so that everybody can compete on equal footing. But we've been adding several of these races, which is like no holds barred, whatever you can do to make your horse faster, go ahead and do that. So you can use your boosts and everything else and figure out what the fastest possible combination is with your war steed attributes and such.
Yeah, and the character apparently still is not high enough level to get a war steed. I have no idea what level you get a war steed, but I'm still looking forward to it.
That'll be somewhere around 75.
Okay.
That's a little while for you, Mouse. Mouse likes to make music mainly,
Yeah.
so there's a distinct lack of leveling there.
I'm at like level.
But we have the same problems with music that we do in horse racing because there's the lag problem. So Mouse and I will be freestyling in the same room, but the problem is that on each of our computers we hear the other one, a little bit later or a little bit earlier. So the way we resolve that is we'll turn the sound off of one computer, and then one person just has to kind of live with a laggy keyboard.
All right. And all right, now what about Ails and Tails?
Ails and Tails. Now, Ails and Tails was really the brainchild of Galen here, now who used to be known as Galen Sword Song, the founder of the Lonely Mountain Band. After our first Weatherstock, he had this great idea that we should get together each week in a different spot for kind of a pub-themed role play, and share music and tales, stories, and that's sort of the seed of the idea. And each week we added more things. I think the first Ails and Tales we only had like 7 people show up. I've got a great picture of the 5 Lonely Mountain Band people who showed up, and then I think a couple of Bounders of the Shire showed up, and it was like sort of the local cops showed up, and we thought we were in trouble, and then they're like, "Oh, this is great." And it became more of an open mic thing over the years, and it's just been so wonderful seeing the sorts of creativity that people bring there. A lot of different games. There's fan fiction, or people writing blogs about their characters. There's various kinds of creativity. I've never seen anything like this game in LOTRO, and Ails and Tales has been a wonderful way to do that, because it gives people a stage. It gives them somewhere to perform their works. So there's wonderful music that people write or transcribe, arrangements people make. There's poems that people will share, stories that people bring. And it's fun just to come as a participant too, because you get to watch all these wonderful creative works and interact with the characters around you. So, boy, Ails and Tales is like 5 years old now, close to it, and it's been a wonderful stage and real community fixture all of this time. And years ago, I was the one who was doing it every Monday, and my schedule really no longer lets me do that regularly. Bercha has taken up most of that, and she's done a wonderful job with keeping Ails and Tales going. And I love every time I get to go there. I try to do a little bit of freestyling and organize some group dances, which can be a lot of fun when you get everybody synced and looking like they're in a wonderful Renaissance dance. It's still going strong and still introducing new musical acts and giving people a chance to share the inspirations that they draw from this wonderful lore and world of Middle Earth.
Yeah.
All right. Any other community events you could think of?
Well, let's see here. Of course, we have 3 different bands within the band. They all have concerts. Open Vineyards is mainly for Ales and Tales. Currently, Bards, Beers, and Longbeards is on hiatus. But
Actually, that's not quite true, Harper. They made their reappearance tonight.
no, really?
BB&B are back. Yes.
Oh my goodness!
Breaking news tonight on Lotra Players News. There you go.
BB is back in business.
That's awesome. I've been missing their YouTube videos as well. They do some great videos.
Yeah. Eggsill and Bjorkbrand are really the force behind those videos, and it's wonderful to see yet another form of creativity being exercised here. And I love any time when we can get a whole community event going where people are working together to build something. And these videos are a great example. People will give up their whole afternoon just to come and be ordered around and doing things. Now go stand by that gatehouse and everybody roar, and they'll take some video of it. Then all the post editing that works on there is a lot of work, but people do this because they love this world, and they love to be able to express themselves and to have their work seen. And that's just something I've never seen anywhere else in these virtual worlds of MMOs. This ability to, not just play the game, but sort of play these meta games with the game.
Yeah.
Not to mention that we send in to a particular arranger live music tracks. I've done that before. I sent in Phil some recorder and some clarinet tracks for his ESTM song and video that he did before.
Oh yeah,
that was Kin Wide.
Yep, he did.
Beyond Kin, actually.
Together, or rather, Eggthill's Fool. The official lore is that Eggthill is a conceited and rather unself-aware, let's say, minstrel, and the player behind this silly fellow is Eggthill's Fool, who seems to have a good deal more sense than Eggthill does. And he does all the real work, I think. That fool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Recon Customs from the chat says that he's a big fan of the short film that had Harperella featured in it a while back.
Oh, The Curse of Harperella.
Indeed. Yeah. And I have to say, I'm a big fan of that as well. How did that come about? And if you want to speak on that
when I first started playing, I said I came from EVE, and when I was in EVE, I was keeping this travel log called Around the Galaxy in 80 Days. And basically I played the game entirely different. Instead of trying to get more stuff and better stuff, I was going to play EVE as a space tourist, writing a travel book about going through all the different places in EVE and seeing the sights and stuff. So when I came to, and it was pretty cool. Eventually, I was finding people who would escort me through these dangerous places. But like I said, I kind of got a little sick of it after a while because there were so many times when people just punked me in that thing, pretending like they were going to be my friends and then coming up and shooting me.
That's Eve.
Right? Yeah. And so when I started LOTRO, I was writing stories about Harperella. Harperella's harrowing tales. And this was one of the first this type of storytelling, I think, in LOTRO. And there's been many other sense of, you're taking screenshots and maybe writing a little bit of text with it and telling a story about your character as they travel through Middle Earth. Harperella's story was that she was a bard's, a court bard's daughter who had, she ran away, as I recall, into Breland from Dale. And from there, all sorts of bad things happened to her, including getting this sort of semi-magical golden harp string stolen by a evil spider. And so there was this other spider named Lolgrath who would periodically change places with Harperella. And so Harperella was stuck as a spider in the Ettenmoors, and Lolgrath ran around as Harperella in the normal landscape. It made for a pretty fun story element. And in the end here, I started having larger and larger sort of events around the story. So, for instance, there was an event that had to do with having a council at Estelden about what to do about all the orcs up there. And that led to the battle at Fornost, where we had a bunch of basically a giant fight with all the orcs over there. And Welby was making the first machinimas of these, Welby the dwarf. He did so well with that Battle of Fornost, he wanted to make a whole video of the Curse of Harperella. Well, by this time I was drawing it more as a cartoon. And so Welby basically just used the Harperella's Harrowing Tales as his storyboard. And then when we were having these actual events, he would take video, he stitched it all together and made that into the Curse of Harperella. And, it was such a great collaboration for us because he had all this skill with the video editing. He was a 3D modeler for a living, so he had access to all this software. So, for instance, if he wanted to make an army of dwarves, he can do that by taking 3 dwarves walking by and then multiplying them by 100.
Yeah, the behind the scenes on that video is pretty impressive on what all you can do.
Yeah. And and that's how Harperella, or the Curse of Harperella, came to be.
Awesome.
All right. Now, we recently had the closing of the first year's player council. I was wondering, what were your experiences on there?
Well, I think the Players' Council is very different than most people see it. So there's not like a permanent council that's meeting in some dark chamber somewhere.
It's not like the White Council?
Yes, right.
That's only every 25 years, so I hope not.
Yes.
It really ended up being a mostly consisting of the conversations that we had with the devs in a set of private forums. And I think sometimes they were using us as a focus group just to see what will people think if we do X, whatever X is. Try to sell a riding upgrade where you can go faster, or a lot of things that went into the store, or changes to classes. And I think it was very effective for Turbine in this way, because since they had handpicked all these people for their Players' Council, every player that was on those forums had a stake in it. I mean, they couldn't just go troll and disappear. They were on the Players' Council, so they sort of had to be on their best behavior. And in that way, we were able to have conversations that you might not in the general forums, just because of the flaminess and the trolliness of the general forums. But in a lot of ways, it was just like a slightly more polite mirror of the general forums. And just like the general forums, it seemed like almost every conversation that we were having on various things in the game eventually devolved into PvMP. That was the topic that always came up eventually. Well, how will this affect PvMP? And then up came the subject of rank farming. And then at that point, things would go on for another 3 pages. And it got to the point where whenever I saw rank farming come up, I'd just be like, no, not again. Please stop.
Oh, yeah.
So,
To anybody who thinks that the player council was underrepresented for PvMP, I will tell you this: we spent probably 25 to 1/3 of all the time talking about PvMP and related topics.
wow.
All right.
What would you say is the biggest change implemented to the game that you saw from start to finish on the Players Council, if anything? Or the biggest thing, do you think?
You know, I can't point to one single thing. I think the biggest things are the things that didn't happen. And by this, I mean the mistakes that Turbine didn't make. So there were a number of times when they would come up with an idea and say, well, what would people think of this? And everybody on the Players Council would say, no! and it never would happen. So there you go. So,
For that,
things
we thank you.
Avoids the potential
Some
hobby
folks
horse
that-
situation then.
Yeah, exactly. The hobby horse certainly got a lot of feedback on that one. Please do not do things like this. Nobody really even likes the idea of a $50 horse.
Yeah.
Although I thought it was a good way to spot people with too much money.
Yes, I could understand that.
Yeah.
All right. Now, I have here in the notes that you something about LOTRO on a tablet.
Oh, yes. So in real life, I actually do stuff with chips, with mobile chips nowadays. And one of the chips that I worked on, a chipset called Bay Trail. This last fall, a whole bunch of tablets came out. Win 8.1 tablets. And I actually went out and I bought 2 of these things. One's the Asus T100 and the other one is the Dell Venue 8. And then the first thing I thought once I got these is, will they play LOTRO? So, I put Steam on them both and I loaded up LOTRO. And sure enough, you're able to play LOTRO on an 8-inch tablet. But let me put a couple of caveats there.
Of course.
It doesn't go very fast at all. The frame rate is atrocious. So you're ending up running around, I don't know, anywhere from 5 to 20 frames per second, depending on what's going on. And the other thing is, you may take it for granted that you have a mouse and a keyboard all the time. But on a tablet, you have neither of those things. So how do you control LOTRO now? How do you move forward? How do you turn? How do you do anything? And so I actually spent quite a bit of time as sort of a side hobby figuring out how would you make LOTRO work on a tablet. And the coolest thing I came up with, I think, was I had a 8-inch tablet, a 7-inch Android tablet, and my cell phone, all networked up together into one virtual computer, so that the tablet, the 7-inch Android tablet, acted like a keyboard and also like gaming controller, and the cell phone acted like a trackpad to give me a mouse. And then, of course, the tablet ran the game, served the other 2 things, and that was the center of the thing. So these 3 mobile devices came together to make one very wimpy gaming machine.
Please tell me there's a picture of you juggling these 3 items trying to play this game.
I have one picture, but with a Bluetooth keyboard as part of that. Because actually, it turns out that you get quite a bit of lag when you use when you try to control keys over the over Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, and so using a Bluetooth keyboard sped that up quite a bit. I'll see what I can find for you, though. I posted it to Google Plus a while back.
That's an amazing experiment.
Yeah,
I
that
would
is.
love to see pictures of it.
Yeah, if you ever want to make pictures or do a video of that, we'll put it on LOTRO Players. That sounds awesome.
Certainly, yeah, and you know, I think we're just a matter of a year or two when this is actually a realistic thing to do. It was just shy of being playable.
Just shy of.
Yeah. However, I was able to use that tablet as a second box to do dual boxing, and that worked out really well, actually. Where if you have a second account and a second character, it doesn't really matter that other tablet is running at 5 frames per second, as long as it's whacking the same thing as you are. Then it's fine.
All right. Thank you very much. Anything you wish to add in order to close before we continue on our show?
I think that's it. Do you have anything, Harper Mousy?
Yes.
Oh, what is that?
In the game, I'm very pleased that I can wear a cake on my head.
Oh, Harper Mouse has this wonderful
That's true.
cake hat in the game, and we went to the Grand Bahamas this summer, actually, and believe it or not, she found the same hat in a gift shop. She has the cake hat in real life.
Now I want a picture of that.
Video.
Yeah, we got a video of her doing the Hobbit cheer.
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome.
Is that on your YouTube channel?
Oh, I'll have to go check to see where it is. I will post a link afterwards.
Okay. Very well. We'll then go on to game news for this week. And the only real news is that we have a scheduled server downtime on Monday, May 5th. And the reason we have it is because they'll be releasing update 13.1. And while we don't have the official release notes yet, we do have the update 13.1 forward version of the release notes, which of course are subject to change. So anyone have any comments on the things that are coming up in 13.1?
Cosmetic pets. They're coming.
More of them, apparently.
Who gets those?
From what I've heard or people talking about it, there are chickens and shrews.
From
no,
the festivals.
You can get a shrew. Seriously. Who can get a shrew?
They haven't said how to get it yet, I don't think, but my guess was that
Oh,
chickens
it's
would
from
be from
Hobnanigans, isn't
Hobnanigans,
it?
and
Well,
shrews would
the
be from the
shrews-
Spring Festival.
Yeah, the Spring Festival is
I want a
featured,
shrew.
doesn't it? Yes.
Yep.
No cooties?
Oh no, where's the
Oh,
cooties?
please, we don't need any of those.
We don't need to go back to that conversation, really.
Multiple mini shrews now. Now that's something.
Don't be shrewd.
Shrew army.
Right.
That's-
So I could just imagine.
Oh no, I have to get even more now. I want an army of shrews.
I see the next EBB video. It's going to be the Pied Piper of Breland.
Oh, but the title Lily Kate Sports is Tamer of the Shrews. That's her regular title.
You know what would be
Yes,
really
you have
awesome?
to have shrew
If
following
you had about 100 burglars that were stealthed, and then their shrews behind them, like, coming at a player in a video. That would be just amazing.
That would be
That
really
would be
funny.
called shrewd.
Very shrewd, yes.
Anyone else have any favorites in the release notes?
One big thing which affects me most is the champion changes. And basically, in the current build of beta, they still have time to mess it up, but in the current build of beta, red line is completely fixed now, and actually probably on the overpowered side. And they did a lot of great stuff to the champion, and it's a lot better now. So I'm not going to continue to complain about the class changes because the champion's been fixed finally.
All right.
There's a
Hooray.
few more changes I thought interesting. One is the auto fellow option, which actually Andang and I went on the server earlier today and checked out. Basically, how it works is that if you select a player on your friends list as being toggled for that, the moment they log in and you're online, they will automatically join your fellowship if you're not in one.
Yeah, and I think that that's fantastic for group dynamics in LOTRO. If you have a best friend that you're going to be fellowshipping with, if you both set to automatically fellowship with each other, you're going to be interacting with each other a lot more in the game, I think, than you normally would. And so I think that this is a great option. Plus, it'll help for LOTRO players' adventures. So
All
lots of
right.
good things.
And there's also a fix in Epic Book Volume 3, Book 4, in that they're fixing a bug which I reported in a episode of LOTRO Players Adventures a couple weeks back, and so it's good to see that that's coming up, because that means I could finally continue the Epic with that character.
There's also another change for the cosmetic pets, which is that they're changing them to be client-side only. And basically how this works is that each player will be given an option in their UIs to disable them. Or they can disable all other player pets as being visible, which would cut down a lot on the lag, because they're not technically
toggle off.
there to actually select.
Which should help for Weatherstock quite a bit.
Yeah, I
There's
want to see
also
exactly how that works, because if they were client-side, then it would be impossible to see the other players' pets.
Well, an interesting thing about that is they were posting somewhere in a forum that they don't know how they're able to be seen. They just know that it works, and they're not questioning it. But the engineer honestly didn't know why it worked.
That's what happens when you get a 7-year-old game and people who have been developing it have left, and yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm looking here on the notes, and the pets, it looks, are Horns. The tree people, not the
Yeah,
ants, but the ones that are more
the
tree.
horn.
Yeah,
Horn
that
pets,
came
yeah.
with update
Mini
13.
trees.
Yeah. Hardly anyone has one though, because they're so freaking rare.
Yeah.
I've seen one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
not
they're
only do you have to get a
they
drop,
are-
but you have to win the random chance thing after you get the drop. So,
Yeah, so that means you have to be
Yeah.
luckier than Draculetta.
It is difficult to achieve.
I can
Final
just
couple
imagine
of
the first guy who walks into the prancing pony with one of these following him in. What does Barleyman have to say when he sees a walking tree? I
let's
don't
just
know.
say there'll be a lot more firewood
thing.
in the prancing pony. That's all I can say.
I'm guessing the same thing he'd say if he saw a bog lurker.
Fair point.
Or
Yeah,
yeah, lots of
There
those.
were a couple other minor points. One is that they added a sort feature to the inventory system. People who've used Huge Bag will know how this works. It's basically the same setup. The thing I
Except,
found though is that, as I was probably about to say, compared to Huge Bag, which you find tends to be rather slow and buggy, this one was pretty much instantaneous.
it literally the second you press the button, everything in your inventory is already sorted. And so the only way I think that it can do it that quickly is that I think somewhere on the server or on your client, it has everything already sorted. And so all that button does is just display it like it should be. I mean, it's instantaneous and it works way better than Huge Bag ever did. So
Yeah,
I
it
think
was
it's because
very
Huge Bag
impressive.
has to do them one by one, talk to the server back and forth for every single
Yeah.
swap. While the
Yeah.
one that's done by LOTRO, they can do that internally, which is very fast, and then do a single draw. And that will be loads of times
Yeah.
faster, because 90% of the
Thing
calculation
that-
is done without talking between the client and server.
Thing with this now though is that this was the one thing that I thought Huge Bag had over the vanilla system. So with
Yeah.
this, I can just happily stick with the vanilla and be happy.
Yes, because I have a feeling that, yes, Huge Bag, I have a feeling that unless someone absolutely had to use the widget, there's no advantage over it. And the widget is a little bit buggy still, even after fixing it for past 90, because on half my characters, the bottom section with the commands doesn't appear when I'm in Huge Bag. So therefore, that leaves, yes, the vanilla system as soon as this update's made.
Mhm. A final point I would like to make for the changes is that they did reduce the damage output on mounted enemies from 85 to 95, which is something I think some people will report is that because mounted enemies just generally do more damage than unmounted ones, the DPS increase they got with update 13 was kind of overtuned them. So that should be helped a bit there.
All right. Any other comments on the update before we go on?
I'm just surprised that it's this big. I think this might be the biggest point update we've ever had.
Especially considering it's only 3 weeks after update 13 launched.
Well, I'm sure, though, that we will have a bigger point update later on in this year, somewhere after update 14.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
but we will
yes.
see there.
It's really getting their
Yeah.
their stride again. They kind of went through some troubles there for a little bit with some staff reductions, and I think that they've figured out how to do more with less, and maybe have done some more hires to support the thing. But it really feels like LOTRO is moving forward at a steady clip now.
Yeah, I think Rowan coming back to take the reins of the game is definitely, it really helped with it.
Yeah.
Yes. All right, let's proceed on the store sales. Draculetta.
The free sample of the week through May 8th is Skill and Slayer Deed Boost ×1. Use the coupon code HUNT, HUNT8, and of course that is one time per account. 20% off quest packs, mithril coins, 100% XP boost for an hour, and max morale and power scrolls.
Now, what do you have against mithril coins, by the way? I noticed you gave that a thumbs down.
I think it's a waste of money.
Okay.
But there's so many things mithril coins can be used for.
I realize that, but most of the things mithril coins can be used for, you can use in-game currency to do the same thing.
Indeed.
Oh, but teleporting you to the quest giver. Woo, that's a good one.
Oh, yeah.
When you
You
have
obviously
36
never saw
characters,
Positive All.
when you have 36 characters, I can imagine.
And then also, they are running specials all through May for weekends only, this weekend through the 4th. So that would be, if you're listening live, Sunday. If you're listening to the podcast, hey, sorry, you missed this. It's 60% off premium relic packs, 50% off Tome of Vitality, and 50% off sturdy steel keys. And then, of course,
Honestly, none of those are really appealing. I mean, relic packs, obviously, ally system is total trash. Tomes of Vitality give barely any boost at all, and keys you get a ton from deeds now.
If you're in PvP, then Tomes of Vitality are fantastic. And so whenever you can get them on... They're not great when they're not on sale, but on sale at this much, I think it's a pretty good deal. If you're wanting to do that sort of thing.
Yeah, min-maxing, I suppose.
and I would say if you actually are going to buy steel keys, don't pay full price for them. I guess they're okay at 50% off. I still wouldn't buy them, but I mean, if you really have turbine points burning a hole in your pocket, 50% off is a pretty decent deal, I guess. But
Yeah.
I don't know. Steel keys is just something that
about like mithril coins, I wouldn't pay actual real money for them, but
I'd rate them below it, but that's another matter.
to each their own.
Yes. Very well. We'll head into our LOTRO players news, and we'll begin with Brax Clan Episode 9. Braxwolf.
This is kind of a continuation of our last Brax Clan episode where Broadkill and I are making our way back to the Forsaken Inn, and I think this episode was called Collecting Wolf Tails, and that was kind of what we were doing on the way back. At one point, Broadkill said, "Sorry if we're boring you people, but we're collecting wolf tails here." So we. And the other thing we talked about a little bit was he is in the middle of reading The Two Towers. And so it was kind of funny because when we made it to the top of Weathertop, he saw the stone that Gandalf had etched onto, and it kind of clicked a light bulb, mixing metaphors. It kind of turned on a light bulb in his head that, hey, this is something that I read about. So it was kind of fun to hear him have that realization.
Yeah, that was honestly my favorite moment in this whole series, was that moment, because it's such a cool thing to see someone his age being that involved and realize that something like that and how important it is, and it is awesome. Reminded me of the first time I found it.
Right, right. So we had a good time. It's a shorter one, but it's fun. I always love listening to Broadkill. He makes me laugh, even as we're playing. So hopefully he'll do the same for everyone else.
All right. And Lily, what are the screenshots of the week?
Screenshots of the week. It was a bit of a catch-up post for me because I was away the week before last. The winners. We had 4 winners of the week of April the 14th. My favourite out of those 4, I think, is the one with the caption "The Rift," where you see the elf statues and the light shining through. It's elven letters by the looks of things.
Yeah, that's a really cool screenshot.
I'm also quite a fan of the goat and the view as well of an Edways. April 21st, we had, I think it's 7 winners. 4, 5, I'm just counting them. And yeah, my favourite there has to be the last one on the post, which is the anniversary festival. It's the one fun cloak and then just that barrage of fireworks in the sky. Yeah, and more from Screenshot of the Week competition. As soon as they release the new set of winners, they're being very generous actually, because each of these winners are getting the 500 turbine points prize. So
yeah, this is a great way to get the community really involved and go all over their game, looking for great places for amazing shots. And I think it's definitely doing a great job in community building, and it's well worth even way more turbine points than what they're giving out.
And yeah, what you see here, the winner picks are just a fraction of the entries, and the creativity in all of the entries is just astounding. You should go over to Facebook if you've got a Facebook account and just have a look through, because some of the entries are really, really good. So I've got a couple to catch up with. I've got to enter a few more. I think more frog pictures are coming up, I think. That's all from Lily Kate.
All right. Then we will head off to the LOTRO video highlights ending.
That's the second time you've done that. This was a fantastic, another fantastic video by Luna the Berg. She does a great job in all her videos. And it takes the song A Mad World and actually pretty applicably applies it to Moria. I didn't realize how well this song applied. And as always with Luna the Berg, she does a great job taking the song and visualizing it in the game. And so I recommend everybody check this out. It's a great video.
All right. And how did we do in LOTRO Players Adventures episode 13? Was it an unlucky 13?
I think it was a lucky 13, although we did go down to Goblin Town, so, I mean, you know, arguable, but I had a great time. I think that everyone with us did. It's always fantastic when you can lead people to Golem's Cave, because that's one of the most amazing parts of LOTRO, and especially the original game. I mean, they did such a great job with Goblin Town and Golem's Cave. And so, recommend everybody go there at some point, but if you can't, you can watch our episode and see Golem's Cave there.
All right. Then Brax, what's your pick of the week?
There was an interesting post over at MMO Gypsy by Syl this week called "No Purpose, No Nothing," and I'm not gonna explain too much about it, but there are some pretty heady concepts. It's a very short article, but there are some pretty deep concepts in it. And really, what she's getting at is that it started out as kind of a sandbox versus theme park MMO conversation, I think, that she had with somebody else. And what it turned into was people need a purpose to play these games. And we talked a little bit earlier with Harper about the creation of music and the socialization that happens. And for some people, that is their purpose for playing the game. And for other people, they don't even bother with that stuff. They go for the min-max. They go for the best gear. They go for the most wins of a certain raid. I thought it was an interesting article. There's some other things in there that I haven't quite wrapped my head around yet. Like she says that if there's something about if there is no end to something, then there is no purpose. And I'm not sure that I really agree with that, because I think that pretty much would throw the whole sandbox idea out the window, which we haven't seen happen. Sandbox games do very well, and sandbox elements in our game, for example, also do very well. But I think it was a neat article because it made me kind of step back and think, well, what is my purpose for playing this game? And what is it that really drives me to log in every night? So go ahead and check that out and be reflective.
Be reflective.
Yeah,
All
awesome
right.
article.
Then we'll head on to Ethros' question of the week.
Yeah. Okay, the question for this week is talking about fun bugs, which is the kind of bugs where they don't really impact your gameplay so much. It's more that like you might find them quirky or amusing. Some examples, like if you have like the moon bows in Eregion, or rainbows at night, which make no sense, and also the fog bug in Forhell that you can get by going through one of the tunnels, and the fog will follow you around in Bree. It's those sort of ones. The first question I have here is just simply put, should they be fixed? If people are like, some people like these sort of bugs, or they get attached to them, should they be fixed at all? I suppose we'll ask Harper first.
I have to say, the best one I've seen so far was at the last anniversary party of the Lonely Mountain Band. We were having a concert afterwards, and Gory Mithrofist, a upstanding dwarf, drank a little bit too much and fainted, and then put a dance emote on it. And I don't know how this happened, but it happened, where he was both sideways as if he had fainted and dancing back and forth with the Dwarf 2 dance.
I know what that is.
You do?
That's
Done that
awesome.
by accident before. I know how it's done. Yes. You can pay me later. I'm not telling.
You're not telling, okay.
No, I'll
Do you
PM
think-
you, Harper.
Do you think then that those type of bugs should be fixed?
No, that one's awesome. I think Mouse has one too.
Yeah, my favorite, I don't know if they want to fix this or not, or if it is a glitch, but there's a special way you can get onto the roofs of Bree that pretty much, yeah, it's really great just to be on the roofs of Bree, but it really stinks if you fall off the roofs of Bree on the opposite side of the walkway, because then you're trapped forever until you die.
Oh yeah, there's a couple of
Yeah.
ditches you could fall into.
You fall into the ditches.
Well, we would go in there as chickens, because you can get to spots in chickens. You can't go as regular characters. The chickens are smaller.
Yeah, and it takes a long time to get to Bree from Hobbiton.
But there's one window you must avoid as a chicken, because if you fall in it, you fall forever.
Yeah, and no one can even teleport you from there because you're moving, because you're falling.
Yeah, I think Turbine's official response to that one was, "Don't do that." If I remember correctly.
Yeah.
That's pretty much their official response, yes.
Yeah, one of the things I was thinking about this is that, like you saying, you enjoy those types of things, like even if they can be considered unintentional or issues, you get enjoyment from them. They can be entertaining to play around with. Other people might find them actually counter to what they want to play with. So it's like one of the community responses we had from Geek Sprinkles, saying that the Fortel fog bug was not fun for them, and it's pretty sad if it's still there after all these years. It's that kind of question of, if some people enjoy the way that works and then others don't, how do you fix that to please both sides of it? Or so they just fix the side that where it's broken because it is unintentional and just leave it at that. Andang, I suppose.
Yeah, my favorite bug was probably from beta when I endlessly. Well, actually, it was the NPCs that couldn't realize what they were supposed to do, and I even have this in a video on my channel, where there's just these NPCs that will run to attack orcs, and then they'll like get scared, it seems like, and run all the way back to this house and end up on the roof of the house, like trying to stay away from the orcs. And they cause the orcs to go into a non-combat state, and it's hilarious. It's one of my favorite bugs, but I think that is definitely a game-breaking bug, and that's why it was fixed, because it definitely wasn't intentional. But there, as far as live server, I haven't really run into that many bugs that were bugs that you'd want to have. So as far as live server goes, I don't know if I have really run into those. But I think as long as a majority of the player base finds them entertaining, then I think that you can keep them in. As long as they're not, ruining a character forever or something like that, I think that they're good.
Mm-hmm. Brax.
Yeah, that's a great point about what's your definition of fun. I don't know. I think if it really affects the gameplay, like we were talking about the chicken falling forever, if that was a character falling forever, that's probably something that should be fixed. That could definitely impact, stuff that you've paid money for if you'd have to start a new character because you did that. Andy, you had a funny. This is kind of a side note, but one of my favorite bugs that I saw was in a different game, Elder Scrolls Online Beta, when Andang fell forever with his character.
and I made falling noises the whole time.
That was the funny thing, right? He was recording it, and the guy was yelling the whole time because he was falling. So he was just screaming over and over.
He was just screaming at the top of his lungs the whole time, just like endlessly falling. I felt bad for him because I couldn't do anything. It's hilarious.
And I was playing with him at the time, and I didn't know what he was talking about because obviously I couldn't see his screen. But when I watched the video back, I could not stop laughing. It was just so funny. Anyway, I guess to go back to the answer, I don't personally think the fog bug is really fun, but I don't think it should be a priority either. I think there's probably a lot of other things that they need to deal with besides that visual discrepancy that they've got there.
Especially if they've tried to fix it and haven't been able to, I don't think they need to devote more time to it. Especially when you can just log out and log back in to fix it.
Right, I think
that's just parochial. Probably that programmer has been 6 months or 6 years gone by now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's probably more of a case-by-case thing. I don't know that you can really say, go fix all the fun bugs, Are cooties fun? I don't...
You're not going to let that go, are you?
Not if you've got them.
There was a bug in the, the Fire and Ice instance where you fight the Nazgul. I found that when you leave that instance after completing it, anything you target will have a, icy bluish tint to it, because some of the Angrim in that instance have that tint as is. But then when you leave, everything does that you target will have that, which is kind of similar to the Foretell fog bug in that you just log out and log back in and it's fine. But it was kind of amusing when I first found it. Drac.
Yeah, I'll have to pretty much echo what everybody else is saying too, that the little fun bugs like that, I think there's way more serious things that they need to look at than, taking the moonbow out of Eregion, which I actually didn't even realize that was a bug the first couple times I saw it. I thought it was supposed to be there. I just thought it was like a little nod to Dio, and somebody on the dev team was a Dio fan and said, let's put a rainbow in the dark, and then here I find out it's actually a bug. And then the fog bug is annoying, but just log out. I just think there's way more serious bugs to look at than taking away the little quote unquote fun bugs.
And log in at some point again. Don't just leave Lotro.
Well, yeah.
No,
log out and log back in. Sorry.
Back.
Yeah.
Lily Kate.
I've got a couple of points. the little moonbow, I really like the idea of the moonbow, but I can see some people might get a little bit upset with it being there if it spoils their immersion. You know, it's Lord of the Rings. We're all supposed to have that Tolkien fantasy immersion going on, and if there's suddenly a great big rainbow in the dark, it kind of like breaks that a little bit.
What did he ever
Personally,
say?
I love the
Wasn't in
moonbow. Bring more moonbows. My argument for them is look how much mirth and chat there is in the community about these things. And the screenshots of the moonbows are just fantastic. There are plenty of those in the Screen of the Week competition. The funniest bug I've had is where Lily Kate went through a time whenever she went through a door, she would immediately start jumping up and down, and I couldn't stop without having to log out and log back in, which was a little bit annoying after like the fourth or fifth time. You know, the first couple of times it's like I'm yelling at my daughter, come in, look at this. Lily Kate's just jumping up and down like a crazy hobbit. I would just agree with everybody else. Yeah, fix the more important things first, and then, you know, even if they could discover the stuff that's coded years and years ago and fix it, I don't know. I just think at the moment it adds something to the community rather than detracts from the community. So leave it alone.
Some of those bugs actually become kind of legendary, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the fog is definitely.
Actually,
Oh, yeah.
preparing for
Infamous
this today, I actually watched the top 10 World of Warcraft bugs. There's a YouTube video about it, and they were actually taken from like some really popular YouTube videos, each one of them, and he actually took the number of views and based it off of there. And some of them had like over 50 million views. Like, it was amazing. Like, so people definitely like fun bugs for a little bit at least. So yeah, it definitely helps
I
the
always
community.
did like the invisible horses. That always gives me a bit of a laugh.
Funny for a while, but
Oh, do you remember the bug where you would walk on the stable route instead of ride on it if you got onto a horse while walking?
That's a really old
Oh.
bug, but yeah. That
So,
was
well, the first
awesome.
time that my elf lore master got on a horse, not only did she have this slow walking bug, but she had her face was like stuck in the fearful one. So like she was really scared of riding the horse the first time.
Did you ever see the one with the that they've since fixed it? But if elves would walk, go into walk mode, and you went backwards on a horse, your like head would decapitate off your
Almost
body.
That was crazy.
Yeah,
That was funny.
it was like crazy. It was great just to ride around town like that and see people like freak out at you.
reminds me of the bug during Helm's Deep beta where Drac got stuck in the animation of moving something from one place to another,
That's awesome.
That was hilarious.
sliding around the landscape.
Don't you have that on video somewhere?
Yes, I
Andy?
put it to music,
Yeah.
and it's awesome.
Did you?
Yep.
I'll have to watch that. Yeah, that was a fun time.
Yeah, beta obviously, so it's more
Mhm.
understandable, but funny. Pineleaf.
All right. Now, I know that any company that's generating software is going to have to set priorities on things. I know that's my life, so I know that quite well. Therefore, yes, this isn't exactly something that you throw on the top of the on your priority list, especially if it's something like Moonbows over Oregion. I mean, really, you're going to come? Believe me, there are plenty of other things that need to be fixed more importantly than that. Now, I'm sort of neutral on the overly attached fog, but if you've ever been in a chat channel with Brannick whenever he gets the bug, you'll know that he does not consider it to be a fun bug. So therefore, yes, that one's a little bit, because in one case it could affect you elsewhere, so to speak, and affect your actions, because there might be some times where you might have a reason where it could be very inconvenient to log out, especially if you're in a raid or something like that. Now you got to go out, come back, all sorts of things like that. So the ones that are truly just fun, maybe minorly cosmetic, then yeah, let's not spend the time trying to fix them because let's face it, the people at LOTRO are trying to do other things instead. So why spend the resources?
We do have a few other responses from the community on this question. Rani says, referring to the Forest Hill bug, is that the Bree housing neighborhood actually looks pretty cool when you have that bug. It looks Halloweenish type. And then there's Cable Knit Dragon saying that it makes for really spooky screen caps in Bree. So you can see people some people can get good screenshots out of using it, and it can actually change the visuals quite nicely.
Yeah, there are
on your
some
preference.
really cool screenshots you can get from it, but that's really the only purpose, I think, of the...
Yes.
And then there are a couple of other people saying the same things you guys mentioned. They should focus on the real hard, more serious issues than these sort of things. The second question I came up with is, should it be considered acceptable for these types of bugs to actually turn up to begin with? Is it okay for these ones to exist at all, even if they do end up possibly being beneficial to the game? Harper.
Sorry. Harper Mousy was asking me a question. I missed the question.
That's fine. The question is it acceptable for these types of bugs to turn up just to begin with, even if some of these bugs can end up being more beneficial to the long-term memory or experience of the game?
I think it just depends. The one bug I never want to see again is the one where I logged in and my kinship had disappeared. I thought I dissolved a Lonely Mountain band somehow.
Oh yeah, I had that one as well.
Well, the night before I had abandoned my house and it said, "Are you really sure?" And I said, "Yes." And then I logged out, and the next day I logged in and there was no more kinship. And I'm like, "Oh my goodness, I disbanded the band."
Because I think I had that a couple of days after you did, Harp, and you said, "Don't worry about it, it's just the bug."
Yeah, I remember it happening a lot to a lot of people at one point.
Harper really
Yeah.
secretly kicked you out of the kinship for a little bit, though,
That's
Kate,
what I
as discipline.
thought. That's
Yep.
why I sent her a tell saying, "You kicked me out again."
Andang.
I don't think it's... Unless they, consciously know, oh, this is a really funny bug and it's not worth spending time to fix it, let's keep it. I don't think it's, the best thing. But, bugs will happen, and you can't really do anything about them. That's why they're bugs. It's not like there's an employee at Turbine, we hope, anyway, that's, purposely trying to create all these bugs. You never know, though. But, anyway. I think that bugs are always a bad thing in general, but when they become funny and the devs realize they become funny and they're not game breaking, I think that they're okay to keep in.
Brax.
Yeah, I think it's fine. I think somebody said bugs are going to happen, especially on these timelines that games are trying to crank out content now. You're going to see things go wrong. This is a 7-year-old game. The original developers are gone. People are bolting stuff onto it. You're going to see stuff break. I would much rather see some of these cosmetic issues that come up than say, and I've never experienced this personally, but the Dragok bug to me sounds really bad for a raider. So you get all the way to the end of the raid, and then the NPC doesn't do what he's supposed to do or something, and the whole 30-45 minutes you just spent trying to kill this guy goes out the window. I think those are really bad bugs personally, and I think those are the types of things that should be addressed before any of the cosmetic bugs. But then again, I'm not as much of a role player as some other people, and I think Lila Kate brought up a good point earlier that breaking immersion is a big deal to role players. It's not as big of a deal for me, so that's why I say cosmetic bugs aren't a big deal. But that's just from my viewpoint.
Mm-hmm. And it's obviously a difficult thing to think of when some people are more bothered by certain things than others.
Yeah.
Drac.
Can I just point out that Moderate Peril in the chat asked, are epic battles a bug?
Yes.
Thumbs up, sir.
And
Thumbs up.
they're not a fun bug either.
Yeah, I don't, like everybody else said, as long as it's not game breaking, I don't like to see bugs in games, but these little things I say are okay. I mean, unless it was done in intentionally, like I think Anding had said, unless there's somebody that's mad at Turbine that is still working there and is just doing this intentionally, which I don't think is happening. But
Blizzard has a pocketbook, just saying.
Yep. But overall, no. I mean, they're not that big a deal to me. Unless it becomes totally game breaking, and then yeah.
Mm-hmm. Lila Kate.
Just basically what everybody else has said. Bugs come along usually at updates. That's the famous time to hunt for the new bug. If I was to go on Drygox run, I don't actually have it, but and did that half an hour and then couldn't complete it, that wouldn't make me too happy. But they're not intentional, so if it's game breaking, they fix it as soon as possible, like they do most of the bad ones anyway. But the fun ones, leave alone. They're a laugh. Let's all have a giggle.
Yeah. Pine Leaf.
I know there have been too many times where I've written something and hopefully I detect it before sending before sending it on for testing and stuff like this. But there's something happening. You look at the software and it does something that you weren't expecting. And the more complicated the software is, the more likely you'll miss something when you're trying to do the testing. So yes, things are going to slip through. And that's just the nature of the industry. And I would say if the relatively small projects I'm on can have occasional bugs slip through, then I could imagine what would happen in something as huge as an MMO. So I don't know if acceptable is the right word, but it's going to happen, and we do have to accept that it's going to happen because there is. I think I once thought that the only. Oh, I remember someone had a box on it that said bug-free, and it was showing. Well, it's been a while, yes. Yeah, no, these days you download it. But the entire point is that any piece of software that does anything significant is likely going to have at least one bug in it because that's just the nature of complex software.
Finally, if you cut out for a bit, what did the box say on it?
The box had nothing on it. It said bug-free software. Yes.
Awesome.
Okay, I think that's it then. Back to you, Pine Leaf.
All right, then we'll go into donations, but we didn't receive any. But if you would like to help LOTRO Players, simply go to the donations page where you can help support the podcast on LOTRO Players and also help support the site. We have $5 and $10 mentions where you can donate and get a mention on one or all of our active podcasts for an episode depending on the amount. For $5, you get a mention on any podcast of your choice. For $10 or more, you get a mention on all our active podcasts. As for feedback, we did not receive any reviews from iTunes, but we would love to get some if you wish to put them in. As for featured comments, we have Kithris, who left or is that Sithrith?
It's Sithrith from YouTube,
Sithrith.
but anyway.
Okay, Sithrith. Okay, Sithrith left a comment on Update 13.1 Borrower notes, I'm definitely interested in seeing what kinds of friendly little creatures end up being cosmetic pets. Will they be similar, the same as the Lore Master pets, or different so that the Lore Masters don't feel like they're no longer special? Should be very interesting to see how it pans out.
They have said that they don't plan to change how the current Lawmaster pets work, which would make me think that they're not going to have ones that are like a dog version for non-Lawmasters and a dog version for Lawmasters. It seems like they're going for the more unique route, so different ones from Lawmasters.
Yeah, if let's say someday down the line they get through a lot of these pet quests and they later start like just selling pets in the store, I'd be surprised if they don't put in a lot of the Lore Master pets in there, at least something similar to them.
Could do them
They
cosmetic
already-
without the skills.
I believe they already sell them to Lawmasters, so
Right,
it wouldn't be
yeah.
that far to other players.
Yeah. Now, note
You
that
probably
there
saw-
are, that in WoW at least, they have cats in there, and some people go out of their way to get the very special cats. They're not just trying to get a cat, they're trying to get a specific cat. And there's some that drop in certain instances, there's some that's a rare spawn in Stormwind. And of course, there are basic cats that you can just go to a store and buy. And I mean, an in-game store that's, for regular in-game currency. So therefore, you could have a variation of a pet with with different skins on it, depending on, so that the lore masters have some specific ones that only they get.
I would so
Especially-
buy that from the store.
I would like to say though that I think that it'd be a good idea for Turbine to put cosmetic pets in because that's one of the biggest money makers for MMOs that are free to play and even like subscription MMOs have pets that you can buy as well. So I think that it'd be a good from a marketing and finance point of view. I think that that'd be a good place to get some of your income as opposed to some others like
Yeah.
a $50 steed.
I just hope they show some restraint. I don't want to see snow beasts walking around in brie, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Well, that's the benefit. The client-side thing is that if you don't want to see them, you can just turn them off.
Oh.
Right. And then
Yeah.
yeah, as for the yes, and as an example, you're saying subscription-based ones. For example, if you ever saw any of my ESO videos, you'll see that there's this monkey following me all over the place.
Yes, and there's also the crab pre-order item and all sorts of stuff. so-
Right. All right. So now
It's not a
email-
very nice way to talk about Andang Pine Leaf.
Wow. Wow, Lillicate.
We did not receive any emails this week.
There better be
but
a
if
pie
you
in the
wanna
mail,
contact-
Lillicate. By tomorrow.
If you want to contact us, you can email us at lotroPlayers.mymiddleearth@gmail.com, and you can also follow us on Twitter, LotroPlayers at LotroPlayers, Andang at PVMP_Andang, Braxwolf at Braxwolf, Draculetta at Draculetta_72, Etheros at Etheros, Lily Kate at Lily Kate Buggins, Mystery at Mystery XOX, Pineleaf at Pineleaf Needles, and Harper at Harper Hendy.
You got it.
You can join us live each week at Lotro Players Adventures. Goes live every Saturday at 5 p.m. server time. And Lotro Players News goes live every Saturday at 8:30 p.m. server time, and that is United States Eastern Time. And you can join us by going to lotroplayers.com/live, and be sure to join us in the YouTube chat. Thank you for watching, and this is Pineleaf Needles, and remember, to skirmish responsibly.